do some more troubleshooting later, because that just means that, yeah, it's not the software, it's not the connection, it's something, maybe a setting on the board or something.
I don't know. It's so strange. I'll have to fucking play with it. I don't know. Anywho, hey Joe, what's going on, buddy?
Not much. What's going on with you?
Just hanging out, recording a podcast with my friend Joe.
Trying to.
Yeah, no shit, huh?
What was that movie that we just saw?
Fuck off. We saw Morbius.
I was literally going to type it in so I can go to, like, I don't know, IMDb and stuff like that, so I can actually remember who was in this movie, and I forgot what movie we went and saw earlier today. Which I don't really care if I forgot it, because that was a garbage. That wasn't a very good movie. From beginning to end, Morbius is not a good movie.
No, not at all. Action, adventure, horror. They spelled horrible wrong. They left off a bunch of letters at the end.
Right. Like, even from the get-go, you start with, like, what is the first scene of the movie? It is literally them flying into whatever
Puerto Rico or whatever
island of Dr. Monroe, place where they get dinosaurs from, because it was like the Island del Muerte or something like that.
Yeah. Ow, fuck off.
Right? And that's where we start the movie. Like, okay, we get a little bit of, we get literally that scene where he's putting his hand up against that bat catcher thing, which, by the way, he caught a shit ton of bats with that thing. With like 15 strings in a box, he caught like what looked like, 100 to 200 bats.
Bro, talk about like the worst pseudoscience thing ever in anything was that fucking device.
You think there was pseudoscience? I don't even think there was science in it. Like, so many of the complaints that I'm having right now about this movie, slowly getting to, the first being that, okay, after that scene, they do a flashback to when he was a kid, and he gets put in that special hospital.
Well, he was already there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was already there. Sorry, yeah. I was confused because they didn't really name the kids right away. And for some reason, it felt like for like a little while, they kept hiding the kid's name as Michael Morbius. Like, for some reason, it was just, I don't know, they called him Michael, but whatever. Anyway, they don't name his disease. Like, this whole entire movie is based around him having a incurable disease, a defect in his DNA, and they don't name it at all.
Yeah, Wikipedia doesn't even have it either.
Even when he's going to try and find a cure, they don't name even what he's trying to cure. Like, it bothered me so much in this movie.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
That's about what?
I was going to say, like, on Wikipedia, again, not that Wikipedia is like the fucking end-all be-all of data, right? But this is literally what it says for for the character played by Jared Leto of Dr. Michael Morbius. A scientist suffering from a rare blood disease whose attempts to cure himself afflict him with a form of transgenic vampirism. That's all it says about the blood disease. So
even on IMDb, it just says biologist Michael Morbius tries to cure himself of a rare blood disease.
My favorite part about this, though, and this is Wikipedia again, so like take this with like the biggest grain of salt. Go down to the next one, right? It says Charlie Shotwell as young Morbius. Then right below that is Matt Smith as Milo Morbius. What?
No.
Wait,
his
what?
Last name wasn't Morbius?
No, not at all. And his first name isn't Milo. His nickname is Milo.
The funny thing is IMDb has Matt Smith as Milo as well. Which he says his name in the movie, right?
Yeah.
As a kid?
It's like, it had a weird name. What was it?
See, I don't even remember. They literally said it once, and then that was pretty much it because young Michael Morbius decided to call every friend
Lucius.
he meets Lucian. Oh, that's right. He does
Lucius.
say Lucian. No, he does say it a couple times in the
Yeah,
movie.
because
Yeah.
remember when he passes out before he magically fixes the machine.
Yeah, he's like, Lucian? Lucian? Yeah, okay. Yeah. I got that. But, like, God, it was so, like, those scenes were meant to, like, show that they were friends as kids and this is like the bond that they have and yada yada yada, but like all of the character development in this movie was just garbage. I didn't care about a single character in this movie whatsoever
Yeah, no,
at
I
all.
didn't give a fuck about any of them.
Any of them, because especially with the scenes as kids, it just seemed like the Milo, quote, Lucius, shows up. Morbius is like, "Oh, you're Milo 6 because every other kid that has come through here has sat in that bed I called Milo, and apparently has died or something because he never sees him again, and now you're up to Milo, 15 or whatever it is, and in seemingly one day they become best friends for life, which makes no sense. Like, I'm betting that there is supposed to be like a time jump thing there, but I don't think at all that they even tell us that it's been so many years later, right? Because I don't recall a time jump,
Uh,
like an indication of time jump. There may have been.
uh, the only time jump that they told us was right after the opening scene of him catching bats with the weird machine thing. Uh, Jumped. It said 25 years earlier or something like that, and that's when they showed Michael in the hospital, doing his never once referred to as anything other than oil changes.
Yeah.
But because of their rare blood disease, they were in that special hospital in some random fucking country somewhere. And does it say where technically it was at? So it's what's interesting. I just realized this. The character that Matt Smith plays is not is supposed to be based on a character named Hunger, who is afflicted the same way that Michael Morbius is.
Mm-hmm.
But his name is different. So in this movie, his name is Lucian Cross. The character's name, which didn't dawn on me because I was so mad at this movie already while I was watching it, is I want to say I've never heard it said out loud, so I only know how my brain processes it reading the books. Is Loxias Crown? It's Loxias.
Okay.
That's the character's name of Hunger.
Could be pronounced Lucius.
I guess, but yeah, but the thing is, that's Lucius, right, or Lucius. Matt Smith's character's name is Lucian.
Yeah.
In the movie, well, he goes by Milo, but the character is introduced as Lucian.
It's almost like you gave the screenwriter,
yeah, who are these fucks again?
like, write this movie, and they're like, okay, who's this based off of? We'll just skim a couple of comic books, and we got the basic idea of who this person is and who some of his bad guys are. Yeah, we'll just do something, sciencey, whatever. It bothered me that, and I can't even remember her name, but the doctor that basically
Martine Bancroft.
First off, Bancroft, that last name sounds familiar. Does that mean anything in the rest of the universe? Or is that just a generic enough last name that it sounds familiar?
I mean, she's from the comic books.
She's from the comic books, but I don't know, like, for some reason, I was trying to remember, like, any other character with the last name that sounded like Bancroft, and the only thing I could think of was maybe, like, what was Craven's last name?
It's oh fuck.
Right?
It sounds.
But I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember if it's anything like Bancroft. Maybe, and like I said, maybe I'm just. It sounds like a generic enough last name that it sounds like it could be similar to some other villain's name from the series, from any series. But anyway.
He's Russian. What the fuck is his last name?
Oh, is he Russian?
Yeah,
I
he's
guess he
supposed
was
to be
Russian, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Huh. But yeah, none of the
Oh.
science, like you put so much pseudoscience into so many other movies that it sounds more realistic. And here it just seemed like that they couldn't even come up with good pseudoscience, or they're just kind of like, yeah, he's got like a blood disorder. That's it. Okay. So he's going to solve the blood disorder with bats. He's going to use bats to solve it.
Yeah, no.
Then some sciencey stuff. By the way, he wins the Nobel Prize. God. That's what I was getting at. Okay. His doctor, sciencey friend, helper lady. And maybe, you know what, I'll do this. Maybe in this universe it is called the Nobel Prize, but in this universe it's the Nobel Prize. Well, and it makes no sense that in that universe, because he develops this blue blood that is apparently it's universal blood that can be used by anybody. It's synthetic blood. It saved millions of lives, blah, blah, blah. He wins the Nobel Prize. And it usually comes with like $1 million cash. Well, not necessarily cash, like they don't hand you cash, but like $1 million prize to go along with it. And apparently he turns all this down. Like, that's fucking dumb, story-wise. Like, especially when he's trying to fund this more secretive, less than legal cure that he's trying to find for him and his friend. So goddamn dumb. I hate the fact that, and we went over this. So first off, okay, jumping forward a little bit, where he kind of gets his shit together. He understands at least that if he drinks the blue blood instead of the red blood, he can survive without feeling guilty about killing people. But the more he takes of the blue blood, the less effective it becomes. And then Milo finds out about it as well. Goes into his lab, maybe steals the serum, although I also call into question because, well, he does. Like, narratively, story-wise, he does. But it bothers me the fact that when they show that... Okay, I'm all over the place because this movie is all over the place.
Hey, so here's something weird.
You see... the one of the nurses of the hospital, of Horizons Hospital, I think it was, walking down the corridor, which, by the way, who the fuck designs a corridor where only one light lights up at a time?
Yeah,
and it's pitch fucking black.
It was real fucking
else.
Stupid, by the way.
That is goddamn stupid.
And she had to run 50 yards to get to a light switch.
Right? You would think that'd be like every 10 feet or so, or something like that, at the entrance to every door or something. I don't know. But, like, no one is going to design a hallway where only one light turns on at a time. Like, if you're running, those lights couldn't keep up. Yeah, it makes for kind of a scary imagery, which this was. And then she gets a glimpse of something in the far distance that also turned on a light, and it's jumping around. And you're made to believe that this is Morbius. But immediately it's like, no, this has to be Milo. Like, at least in my mind, like, it would make no sense that this would be Morbius. But in the next scene where you see that she has had all of her blood sucked out, and Morbius is like, oh God, did I pass out? And I don't remember going after her and accidentally killing her. And he's running through his lab. And you see that there are still 2 vials of the serum that he created to make himself into whatever trans vampire or whatever you called it earlier. You see that they're still there. That's obviously an oversight because narratively, Milo does take it.
He admits to it.
He admits to it, and you see it. You see the fact that he's transformed. I don't understand, though, how he just picks it up and then takes it, because Morbius had to have it injected into his spine in order for it to do anything.
Don't bring
I mean,
that up
like,
again.
did Milo just like pop the cork and chug this thing? Did he inject it into himself? Like, how do you know how to use this stuff? Like, it makes no fucking sense.
Yeah.
To just take something and be like, well, it's in a vial. I'm just gonna jam it into my leg. Is that how this works? Do I just little jabs? Is that how this works? Little jabs,
Sure.
everywhere till something happens. I would complain about more of the movie. I can't remember most of it. Like, it is such a forgettable movie. I was bored during every action sequence. The action sequences were so bad that I think Taken 3 had better action sequences than this.
Yeah, you saw the
And
people who were in
Taken
them.
3 had garbage action sequences. I couldn't tell you what was going on half the time in this movie, in those action sequences. I get it. They were trying to show you how fast some of these characters were. Like, they're there, and there, and there. And then we get a little bit of a slow-mo. And then boom, 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 off this way, that way. But then we like go through rubble at one point as towards the end of the movie where Milo and Morbius are having their final movie fight, and Milo is pushing Morbius through a building, and it's like all I see is rubble. This is awful. Like, this is not good at all of a fight. Yeah, so all of the fight scenes are just absolutely trash. The ending makes no fucking sense. Even within the grand scheme of things, I'm going to spoil the ending.
Oh no!
Because it involves the rift that Doctor Strange creates at the beginning or midpoint, I guess, of the last Spider-Man movie, and somehow Vulture gets pulled over to this universe.
Yeah.
But it seems like he's staying in this universe. Like, it doesn't even make sense within that. Like, you established at the end of Venom that Tom Hardy and Venom popped over to a universe. I'm gonna assume that it's the MCU universe.
Yeah.
But as soon as the rift was closed, he pops back over to his universe.
Just like
so
that.
it would, I will say that a little bit of the symbiote gets left over in the MCU universe, if I recall right.
Yeah.
But it's not like the whole character stayed there. So I don't understand why it seems like in this universe, the Vulture is just there now, permanently. He mentions a Spider-Man, but in this universe, there seems to have been no... Even if we include Morbius in the same universe as Venom, there is nothing definitive to say that there is a Spider-Man in this universe. I think they have hinted at it, but it's not like that they've had, like, there goes Spider-Man swinging through New York, or, any other thing at all. Correct?
Sorry, I was yawning because I was remembering this movie. So this is what bothers me. All right, listen. Besides a lot of this movie, well, you bring up the whole thing of Spider-Man, right? In one of the very first trailers we saw for Morbius, they showed a Spider-Man poster that had spray painted the word murderer on it, which led everyone to believe that Spider-Man that was from the Tom Holland Spider-Man was known in this universe, which means Morbius took place in the MCU. Right? You remember that?
Yeah.
Later looking at it, that suit looked more like Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man suit than, say, Tom Holland's.
Which would make sense, because the Andrew Garfield was a Sony property.
Yep. All right. So we'll go as far as saying that Spider-Man exists. So we'll say Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man exists, right, in this universe.
Mm-hmm.
In this movie, they reference the name Venom, right? Which makes no sense obviously people, like, they're close to Venom know Venom, like the lady who runs the bodega that he goes to, or whatever you want to call that place that he goes to in the second movie, and she refers to Venom like she's like, blah blah blah. Like people know the name Venom, right? Somehow Michael Morbius knows this. Like people just know.
That's a good point, because it's not like it's in the newspapers where it's like Venom goes on a carnage or something like that.
Yeah, like
goes on a rampage.
Yeah,
No,
people
it's not.
close to Eddie know Venom because he lets them know like what's going on, right? Like
Right,
because he
otherwise it's
protects
just
her in their first
black
movie. Blah
monster
blah.
goo thing just ravages town.
Yeah. So and then in this, Tyrese in Morbius, Tyrese mentions that they haven't seen anything like this since the events of that happened in San Francisco, which Venom 1 and 2 take place in San Francisco. Okay, cool. We'll let that, because we know Eddie left New York and went to San Francisco before the events of Venom 1. All right?
Right.
Daily Bugle exists. All right. We know that because he used to work for Daily Bugle, and then it's in Venom movies. It's there. And it's in this movie. He at one point, Milo buys a copy of the Daily Bugle, blah, 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 right? So we've established the Daily Bugle exists. We've established Venom is the thing that apparently people know of and fear, which makes no fucking sense. We know that the events of San Francisco happened because it's Venom. We could assume there is a Spider-Man in New York, which this movie takes place in, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
The bulk of this movie takes place in New York.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man could be a thing, but we just don't know which Spider-Man is happening. Now, the one thing with the multiverse thing, especially from the Spider-Man No Way Home, or No Way Home, right? Yeah, No Way Home. I was gonna say Far From Home. That was the second one.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if I said this to you or when we were recording, and this is totally off topic, but this bothers me. What version of Spider-Man gets pulled across from the Tobey Maguire and the Andrew Garfield? They're Spider-Mans, right? Get pulled across.
Mm-hmm.
They're obviously I believe they're still alive, right? So they don't have a problem with being dead like the villains do, because the villains are pulled out of their universe, their multiverse, at a time when they died, before they died, right? They didn't pull corpses across.
Right.
So I was wondering, and this has nothing to do with Morbius other than the fact that this stemmed me to think more about it, right? Venom seems to be in the same time frame he was in, right? Because he went on vacation after the events of Carnage. Went on vacation, got essentially moved over via the Spider-Man fuckery, right? Wakes up, sees a Spider-Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, originally, I thought, was that when was like the time frame, right? Like those villains come across, they are dead in their current timelines, but the Spider-Man come across, are those Spider-Man, like Andrew Garfield's, and I know this is rambling, I'm trying to get to my point. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, so we'll say Raimi Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man. They come across, they're clearly the aged version, right, of their Spider-Mans. They've seen some shit.
Yes.
The villains are, obviously, they're somehow pulled miraculously across time and space and multiverse from when they were still alive to that point, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that seems like weird things to me, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I loved the new Spider-Man movie.
Why would you pull a future Spider-Man from that timeline and a past villain from that same timeline?
Thank you.
That's your point. Yeah.
Thank you. Right? Why?
Yeah.
So then we have Adrian Toomes.
Even Toby, I think, remembers like Doc dying.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's like, yeah, I know. Like, he's the one that explains like what happens. Like, right? He's like, they're dead.
Mm-hmm.
And he's clearly gone on in his life, and he's probably no longer with MJ. Doesn't really specify, but a very tear jerky moment where you realize, oh, I don't think he's with
Very
MJ
much
anymore.
Peter B. Parker.
Yeah, very much so. He's a kind of a not really like a scumbag, but not really like the top game. You know what I mean? So it's interesting for me to wonder. Obviously, rules don't apply because it's a movie and shouldn't fucking matter. But it's just weird to me to think that they didn't pull across those spider people at the same time they pulled the villains across.
Yeah, so you're talking about like literally Doc Ock and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man could be in a fist fight, and then that's how they get pulled across. Not that they got pulled across separately.
Yeah.
From a different points in time, even within their timeline.
Because by the time Doc Ock was Doc Ock, Green Goblin was dead.
Yeah.
Right? Because even Doc Ock says that. He says, you're dead. Like, you shouldn't, you are dead. From when I'm from, you are dead.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll skip that. Again, makes no sense. Whatever, right? The Adrian Toomes thing is what I was trying to get to. Unlike Venom, he doesn't go back to his existence, right? And I think you brought it up, or maybe it was Mike that said it. If Sandman, Electro, again, we kind of said like maybe Electro didn't know who Spider-Man was. He knows who Spider-Man is. He doesn't know who Peter is, right? Like he may not know that Peter is Peter or Peter is Spider-Man.
Right.
So that he knows this. He knows Spider-Man. Obviously, he blames Spider-Man for what's wrong with him. Sandman, same thing. Doc Ock, Green Goblin, right? Again, this is assuming a lot. I assume there is a Spider-Man in the Venom Morbius universe because Venom was pulled across the other way. Do you see what I'm getting at?
You're getting at the fact that because he knows Spider-Man is the reason why he got pulled across.
Yes. Not that Venom knows, but Eddie knows.
Eddie knows. Because of the way the spell was supposed to be.
Do you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
I don't know why Adrian is pushed the other way. That seems
because
weird.
He doesn't know, so it would be the opposite.
Well, he does know, though. He knows both Peter and Spider-Man exist because he knows Peter is Spider-Man.
That's true, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah. So there's a lot of logic or a lot of things I don't know. Like, don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, I did too.
I did not enjoy Morbius, but not because of the whole convoluted multiverse thing. That was a whole fucking rotten basket of disgusting at the end of that movie that just added more frustration and anger. But to your point, why didn't Adrian go back like Venom did? Or Eddie in Venom, part of Venom.
Because it would make no sense too, because obviously they're trying to set up like a Sinister Six type thing, which, as you pointed out in the car on the way back,
makes no sense.
Makes no sense because Morbius's whole arc in this whole entire movie is that he doesn't want to be a bad guy. He's just sitting there saying, "No, I don't want to drink people's blood. I want to figure this out so I can cure myself." And yet, for some reason, at the end of the movie, he's now seemingly teaming up or going to team up with Adrian Toomes, with the Vulture, and they're going to try and make the Sinister Six. Like, that doesn't make sense for his character arc in that movie. He's not a bad guy. He's not necessarily a 100% good guy. Obviously, he killed some people in the movie, but it just doesn't seem like something that he would go through this whole entire arc of trying to be the good guy and then just suddenly throw it away at the end, being like, "Yeah, no, I'm going to team up with this guy here." I can maybe see that he doesn't really know. Oh, there went the dog. I can maybe see at this point in time that he doesn't really know who Adrian Toomes is, so maybe he's just assuming that he's going to be some guy that can help him do research and gets, maybe work towards a Jesus Christ, dog. She found one of her squeaky toys and now is just running in and out of my room squeaking it. Anyway, so that maybe that at this point in time, all he's doing is just being like, oh, maybe this guy can, I can team up with this guy and we can do some good. I can figure out and how to cure myself and blah blah blah. Because he really doesn't know anything about Adrian Toomes right now. He doesn't necessarily know that he's a bad guy.
Yeah,
That's the only thing I can assume.
And Adrian
right
does approach him and say, "Let's do some good."
Right.
Right. So maybe Adrian's trying to turn a new fucking a new leaf. Like he's.
Oh, I doubt that he's trying to turn a new leaf, but he's literally just trying to make it seem like he's doing something good.
Yeah, which to me is the wrong way of doing that. Like, Morbius is gonna, like, that's the kind of wrong dude you want to lie to, right? Like, that dude eats people.
Mm-hmm.
You're a normal squishy person inside of a flying vulture suit. He can fly on the winds and he can hear you from many miles away.
Which made no sense. I hated all of that.
It was dumb.
Like, I get it. We're getting into the pseudoscience type stuff. I will say the visuals of like the ear turning into that slightly squiggly thing, well, really weird at first, was actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
But he was hearing from like halfway across the city, especially towards the end of the movie where he's standing out on the balcony and he's trying to hear where Milo has Dr. What's her name? And
Doctor, what's her name?
And somehow he can hear across all of the city traffic sounds, people sounds, everything. He can pinpoint from miles away this sound that would have been so muddled at that point. You wouldn't be able to hear Matt Smith whispering Michael, Michael, Michael. Like not at all. You wouldn't be able to hear any of that. The whole flying thing was awful as well. I love how they don't explain anything. He can see air currents, I guess, so he can just like fly, sort of fly. Like he doesn't really fly. Like the only time we really see him, quote unquote, fly is in the subway.
Which also bothered me because if he was flying in front of the train, right?
Yes.
Underground.
Yes.
Which would have very low air currents in front of the train.
Right.
Behind the train, on the other hand,
would be turbulence, motherfucker.
But he could use that to fly because it's churning up the wind, right? Like you would think, I
can't roll my eyes hard enough. Jesus Christ.
God damn.
I can't roll my eyes hard enough to express to you how bad that science is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it makes no sense for him. And then when he's out in the open and he's like gliding and he jumps off something, I get it, right? He jumps off and he's using...
And that type of stuff I was looking at more of like this is Superman. He's able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, not actually fly type things.
Yeah, and it made no sense because when he found out he could fly, like obviously he got on top of the building that first time and he was pushing, like the wind was pushing him for some strange reason. He lost control and almost flew off, but was able to stop with his shoe. I don't know. It was real dumb. And it made no sense to me. But the other thing that was... So, obviously for visual effects for the viewer, when we're talking about his powers, we see his echolocation capabilities, right? We see it, like you can hear the sounds, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
What really bothered me was when he watched back the video of him, the closed camera on the boat of killing that guy in the little cell he was in. You could see it.
Yeah. Like it made no sense whatsoever.
What you should see is a blur move, not him not like that smoke that comes off of him.
I hated that so much. There were so many times throughout this whole entire movie that I kept going, okay, the smoke. Is it that we can see the air or we can see sound? Like, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, it made no sense.
But you're right. Like, the fact that was captured on tape, okay, is he a smoke monster? Is that like he's able to slightly turn into smoke? Like, what? God,
Like if you were to say like like what's his name X-Men guy, teleport Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler.
So when he remember in the Bryan Singer movies,
He poofs and kind of goes into smoke and then appears and poofs and little smoke trails around him.
Yeah, that makes sense because he's moving. He's literally moving his mass, his matter in and out of
our world.
Yeah, right. So he leaves that residue behind, right? Mm-hmm. But Morbius and both and Milo, which again I don't know why they keep calling him Milo fucking Morbius on Wikipedia, but it's everywhere. He doesn't have that. Like he never you know what I mean? Like he never has that like, oh, I can fly type thing, right? Like he doesn't sit there and experiment. But when he moves around, he doesn't have as much of a trail as Morbius did.
I don't remember.
Dude, I don't know. It's so fucking weird. By the end
of the movie, like Morbius had a trail. Like they were emphasizing the purpleness of the trail.
The liner of the coat.
Yeah, which I think is a more comic accurate thing. Like if I recall right, he did have like a very purplish hue to his clothing and whatnot.
No, it's black and red.
Was it black and red?
Yeah.
Okay, then I don't remember what. Then I have no idea where that purple comes from because I could have swore I would have seen it. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, as far as Milo is concerned, yeah, I don't really remember if he has as a smoky trail as Morbius does. Maybe he didn't take enough of the serum. I don't know. The serum also causes you to smoke.
Dude, I don't know. It's so much wrong. So much
wrong. Like even in like directing just seemed bad. Cinematography bad. CG, you know, it was pretty good actually. It made no sense in some cases as far as the flying and the smoke and stuff like that, but I couldn't possibly put that on the CG artist's fault. That had to have been somebody just sitting there going, no, he looks all smoky and stuff. That's not how sound works. I guess that would be how like air currents would work, but it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah,
like one scene that bothered me too, as far as like framing scenes go, is when Sherlock's brother walks in on Milo, and
Sherlock's brother, Jared Harris.
There we go. Because he played Minecraft, right?
Did he? Was that the one? Oh, was that the? Did he play Robert Downey Jr.'s brother?
Didn't he? Anyway,
go ahead. I'll look it up while you're
sure
talking.
That's correct. You can look it up in a second here. But when he walks in on Matt Smith and he's like, "Oh, you know, what's going on?" Blah 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 blah, and you can see that Matt Smith's face is going in and out of Vampire, but the camera is so shaky that you can't really see.
He played Moriarty.
What?
He played Moriarty in the Robert Downey Sherlock movies.
Oh, he played Moriarty. Okay, so I knew he was in.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Anyway, no, that's fine. I knew he was in one of the Sherlock franchises. I just couldn't remember. I thought he played Minecraft, but I guess not. But like he's going in and out of the vampire face, and but the camera is like so shaky you can't see him actually going in and out of the face, and it's like, why are we shaking? Why are we trying to show him going in and out of the vampire face, but we're shaking the camera so you can't really see him going in and out of the vampire face? Like, it makes no fucking sense to me.
Yeah, there's a lot wrong.
And in the same scene, like, he starts freaking out on Moriarty by saying, like, "Oh, you always loved Morbius," and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we never established that in this whole entire movie. Like, you as kids was one fucking scene that apparently you decided to be friends for life, and that was it. There was nothing to establish that there would be any towards like iota of animosity that Matt Smith's character might have had towards Morbius at all. God, there was something else that bothered me about that scene too. Now I don't remember what it was. Fine, whatever. This movie was so awful.
Hey, by the way, it made enough money to make a sequel. So if you're just wondering it. Well, actually, no, maybe not. So it says here, budget of 75 to 83 million, and it's so far box office worldwide is 128.9 million. So hasn't technically made enough to make a sequel, but it has made its money back, from what I can tell.
I mean, good for them that they've made their money back.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the other thing that bothered me. What did Milo do for a profession?
He was rich.
That was it. Like, he was rich. There is so much in this movie that they just gloss over. Like, I would have to assume that there is a director's cut that has all these answers, but somebody was like, no, more than 2 hours for a character that really nobody knows is too long. Start cutting things out. And you just cut out all the stuff that makes any sense. You don't tell us what blood disorder that Morbius and Milo suffer from.
I was going to say it earlier. In the comic books, by the way, I don't think they ever actually name it. I looked it up. I was looking up the history because I couldn't remember if they gave it a name. They don't. It's a rare blood disorder.
But then just come up with something. You don't have to come up with something real. You could just name
no,
something.
I agree with you completely.
Give it a name, you explain how it works, and then that's fucking it. And then the quote-unquote cure that turns him into Morbius, you pseudoscience explain it that away. Like, they didn't even try to pseudoscience anything away. Like, even in the quote-unquote cure that he develops, that like, they do give a little bit of a sciencey stuff for it. I don't remember, something about iron deficiencies and stuff like that, blah blah blah. But like, even in developing this serum, you don't even explain that you have to.
And
it's not like you explained that Morbius or Milo are immortal, invincible, like hard to kill or anything like that. You didn't even try and kill him once and find out that you can't kill him. You just jumped straight to, oh, we have to develop this thing that makes him, have an iron deficiency, and that's how it kills him.
Hey, just so you know, Joseph Kosinski, I believe is how you say his name, the director of Top Gun Maverick, has said he has 800 hours of footage.
I believe it. And
just to put that in perspective, so maybe they don't have that much footage for Morbius, and they just they didn't have enough. Like, we gotta cut this into a half decent movie, which they failed on for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't want to interrupt you, but
I'm kind of done talking about this movie.
Yeah, I'm depressed. This movie was so bad.
Yeah.
Like, I knew, I heard a lot of stuff, like, people talking shit about it, which, okay, whatever. But, like, this lives up to all the shit people are talking about it.
Yeah, it really does. Like, usually, I have a hard time remembering a movie where that was critically panned, but at least the audience liked it, that we didn't really like it, that we didn't like it.
Yeah.
But this seems to be like one of those ones where it's like, yeah, I think it's being panned by critics, but what's the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes? I think it
was 70 something,
around 70 something %, and that's relatively positive. But no, I don't know how it's getting 70% because this is awful.
Hey, just so you know, the guy who edited this movie won an Academy Award before.
For what?
He won Best Film Editing at the 64th Academy Awards for his work on JFK.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you right now, he has worked on a lot of movies. This is by far his worst thing, and he should probably not get any more work. So, quickly,
I'm still like, I want to firmly believe that this isn't any one person's problem necessarily, that this is a studio thing where they just didn't believe in the property, and so they told him to cut it down. And possibly a problem with writing. Because obviously it had 2 writers attached to it, so it went through a couple scripts.
The worst part, no, it's a team. So this team, oh man. So this is what makes me upset.
So this isn't even like write one script and then have it another pass done on it. This is literally James S.A. Corey, 2 people writing the same script.
Yes, these motherfuckers, right? They have a total of 5 movies under their belt. I will give you the other 4.
Okay.
So obviously you know Morbius.
Yeah.
Duh. Dracula Untold.
Okay, I know that movie.
That's the one where they tried to reboot the Universal Monsters movies with Luke Evans.
I relatively liked that movie. Yes.
Yeah, I mean it was fun, not great, but fun.
I'm not saying it was a great movie, but at least it was a fun enough movie, and I think it was a decent enough starting point for the Dark Universe or whatever they were going to call that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next up, which this movie contradicts what we're saying right now, because both you and I have praised this movie and actually like this movie, if I'm not mistaken. It is The Last Witch Hunter.
Yeah. It's a Vin Diesel movie. It's not a great movie, but it is a fun, different type of movie that we both liked. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it and would have watched a sequel if they would make it. Yeah.
This is where the scales start to tip the other way. Gods of Egypt.
That was that Ridley Scott movie, wasn't it?
So
No.
This was Alex Proyas. You're thinking of... what was the name of that fucking movie that he did? The Exodus? Yeah, you're thinking of Exodus.
It was an Egyptian lore movie. Yeah.
Gods of Egypt is the one that has... well, first off, it has way too many people who shouldn't have been in this movie. It has Nicolas Coster, wild dude, the dude that played Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It had Chadwick Boseman.
Okay.
I mean, it had a lot of people. Rufus Sewell was in it. I mean, there's a lot of people in this fucking movie. And this movie should have been better, but it was actually kind of a train wreck. Anyhow. So that's that movie, right? So Gods of Egypt. Next up, Power Rangers.
I never saw.
Now, the caveat on this one is it was story only. So they didn't write the screenplay. They wrote only the story. Then the screenplay was written by somebody else, which I don't remember. I just looked at it. The screenplay was done by John something or other. But the story for the Power Rangers movie from 2000 and... what year was this fucking movie released? 2017? Which I enjoy parts of, but it's really not that great of a movie. And it has a terrible ending. It's listed on Wikipedia of having 4 different story writers and then a screenwriter. So I can't blame them for that one. You know what I mean? You can't polish a turd and expect it not to be just a shiny turd. But you have Dracula Untold, not a great movie, but not a terrible movie. The Last Witch Hunter, I fucking love that movie. Gods of Egypt, just a trash can of a fucking movie. Power Rangers has a lot of its own problems, and that's just because they pander and don't want to actually make it something decent. And then you have Morbius. So these 2 fucks, how do I put this politely? Should pack their shit and fucking get out. Because it just, I don't know, man. It's this movie is so bad. Like, I don't know who to blame for how bad this movie actually is.
I'm still firm belief that it's the studio.
I honestly, dude, I believe you might be correct on that. Like, there's not enough people listed on this, on at least both IMDb and Wikipedia, for who had their fingers in the production of this movie, for me to point out who's actually to blame.
Like, there are still some bad calls within it, but, like, ultimately, I have the feeling that they shot a lot more, and the studio said, cut it down. No one really knows this character, and so they cut it down the best they could. Yeah, there's still some writing problems with it. Like, you don't name the blood disease, you don't have this or that. But I just have a feeling that there are scenes that were shot that just didn't make it into the movie because the studio said cut the runtime down, and so they just left out everything except for the action, quote unquote action. Yeah, that's my belief.
Yeah, so Jared Leto was attached to this in 2017.
That's pretty long ago, yeah.
Bro, that's 5 years. The filming for this movie was finished in 2019. So it took them 3 whole years. Granted, pandemic, right? I know 2019, pandemic fucking started. 2020, shit was fucking wild, right? Like, shit was closed down, blah, 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 right? 5 fucking years, dude. And then 3 years of post-production, and this is the fucking movie you give us?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how much trash must be left on that fucking editing floor?
Oh, a lot.
Like, I don't know if it's enough that you couldn't make it be better, but, dude, you had 3 years. We'll say two whole years, right? Of being able to polish this fucking turd, and you still gave me a fucking shiny turd.
Yeah.
Dude, you couldn't do reshoots in last 2 years?
No, because they're not going to put more money into something that they don't necessarily know the character of.
I
that
guess
they don't
not,
know
man.
if the audience is going to be there for it.
I don't know, dude. It's just it bothers me, and it shouldn't bother me, but it does bother me.
It could have been so much better. It could have been.
Yeah.
All right. I'd say let's wrap it there. Unless there's any more
For
interesting stuff that you want to complain about it.
Nah, I'm fucking done talking about this fucking movie.
Heavily sighing for another 5 to 10 minutes.
I'm past the point of being angry, and now I'm just depressed. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going through the how many ever stages of grief there are.
5 stages of grief.
Whatever. I'm in the midst of them. I don't know if I'm not clearing the woods yet.
No,
I'm deep in the woods.
You're like maybe 2 or 3 in. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It just so depressing.
Yeah.
Anywho, that's it for this week's episode of Comes Naturally. We have been
Joe.
I have been Cody, and as usual, you fuckers just came naturally.
Bye.